my opinion, is so much better than traditional homes. One, because um, your return on investment is so much greater with a mobile home versus a standard home. I can easily get a home less than $5,000, put maybe $3,000 in it in terms of renovations and my handyman, and I could easily turn it around and make and sell it for $30,000,
Wow.
within a matter of weeks. You can't do that with traditional homes. I mean, the repair cost is minimum for a mobile home versus our traditional house where a roof alone is probably $3,000 $4,000, so you're spending so much money on a traditional home, and you can be in that home renovating for what, 6 months to a year, 2 years even, versus a mobile home where you typically get in and you get out, and then your return on investment is extremely high. And then another thing is, doing mobile home, it gives me a sense of joy because I'm able to provide people affordable housing that may have never been able to afford a home. You know, my tenants can say, I own my home, and they may not have ever qualified for a traditional home. So there's some reward behind it where I have it. I remember my home, I think it was my second home that I sold. Um, it was to a family that was actually living in a shelter, not in a shelter. They were living in a hotel where she was recently having issues with a abusive, spouse or whatever. So they were living in a hotel, and I remember I met up with her to, show her the house, and she was telling me that she was interested. This was right before Christmas. And I just remember, I remember vividly the daughter coming up to me, and she asked her mom first. She goes, "Mom, is this our house?" And she goes, "Yeah, baby, this is our house." And then
Wow.
she looked at me and she says, "Thank you, thank you, thank you so much." And she was like, "We get to have dinner together as a family again." And the mother just looked at me like, "Yeah, we just haven't been able to have dinner as a family in so long." Like I had to walk away because I almost teared up. Uh, so stories like stuff like that is really rewarding, and it gives me an opportunity to provide affordable living for people that may not ever be able to afford owning their own home. So that's why I do mobile home investing.
Wow, wow, wow. I never heard anybody broke it down like that. And you're 100% right on that. There's a housing shortage going on right now. People can't afford, standard houses and things of that sort. So yeah, it's definitely great that you're providing that kind of service. So that leads to my next question. How do you go about, finding these mobile houses? Like what's the first step to even get started?
So the first step in getting to finding a house is really, there's several ways you can do it. You can drive around, like what we call, driving for dollars. So if you see a mobile home park, you'll typically drive in the park and see if anyone has a for sale sign up on their window. So that means that they're ready to move. So you have the opportunity to buy their home if they're selling it. So that's one. Another one is calling parks, asking them, "Hey, do you have any mobile homes for sale in your park?" They'll either say yes or no. That's another way. Another way is, putting up signs, saying, you're looking to buy a mobile home. Do you know if anyone has any mobile homes available? Talk to people, your coworkers, ask them, "Hey, look, I'm getting into mobile home investing. Do you know anyone that's selling their mobile home?" You can even give them a referral fee if they find you a home and you end up purchasing, you could give them a couple of $100. Say, "Hey, thank you." So that will actually encourage them to give you more homes because they just benefited from it. So those are a few ways that you can find it. There's some other things where you could pull lists and stuff like that, but that's like, deep into it. But those are a couple of ways where you can find mobile homes.
That's well said. And what would you say are some of the key members you need to have on your team to be successful in the mobile home space?
The key man, the I would say there's one thing that you need to have: a reliable handyman. Right? So, and I'll say this. So there's a difference between a handyman and a contractor. You don't want a
Mhm.
contractor because a contractor is going to charge you a ridiculous amount of price because they're used to working on standard homes. You don't need a contractor. You can get a handyman, Joe from around the corner, as long as they're reliable. And that's the biggest issue in the mobile home space is reliable handymen. I mean, I've been through so many I've been through so many handymen. It's horrible. I mean, once I get a good one, I'm gonna hold on to them and value them because they're just not reliable. They'll come when they want to, they don't show up, they're late, you ask them to do this, they do something else. So I think the main thing is if you can find a reliable handyman, I mean, I think you're off to a great start. Or if you can do it yourself. I mean, it got to a point where I remember one of my homes, they were trying to charge me $75 just to change the light fixture out. And I had
Wow.
like 11 light fixtures in my home. I said, I have an electrical engineering degree. I am going to change it out myself. Okay. So I sure enough got a ladder and I changed them out myself. So if there's some things that you can do yourself, if you're handy, that's perfect. Or your spouse is handy, that's excellent. But I think the biggest thing is really finding someone that can do the work for you. And it is actually beneficial to have them go and look at a mobile home with you. If there's a home that you want to purchase, have them come with you. Say, listen, I want to get this home. Can you give me an estimate on the repairs? There's certain things you have to look for when you're buying a home. Make sure that the floors are not weak. Make sure the roof, there aren't any leaks in the roof. Open up, check the faucets. So there's certain things that you look for when you're going to buy a mobile home. So having a handyman come with you and evaluate it, so that'll help you determine what price you're going to offer for the mobile home. They may ask for a ridiculous amount, maybe like $30,000, and it needs a lot of work. Well, you're not going to do that because you'll have your handyman there and he'll tell you, okay, well, it's going to cost maybe $5,000 to fix it up. So then you use that to negotiate, the pricing for the mobile home. But definitely your number one thing that you need to have is a good and reliable handyman.
Oh, that's well said. I guess, I have a couple of questions based on that. How would you, one, suggest you to go about, getting a handyman, and not get a contractor? Or you say, you want to keep your costs lower. And so how would you suggest people doing that?
Yeah, that's as simple as going on Facebook, Facebook Marketplace, putting up an ad on Facebook saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a handyman," or go into some of the groups, the classified, groups for your town. Just say, "Hey, I'm looking for a handyman. Does anyone work on mobile homes?" And trust me, you'll get a list of people, but just make sure you vet them out. Don't just jump with the first person that says, "Hey, I'm available." What I typically like to do is I'll ask them to have pictures of their work. It's good to ask if they have any referrals. Or another thing is I'll just have them all come out at one time. If I have a mobile home, I say, "Hey, listen, give me a quote on how much it'll be to renovate this home," and break it down into, break it out so I can see what your pricing, so I can, compare the pricing between the other handyman. So I think, I mean, for the most part, it's just, putting a post up on even Facebook, your own page. Some people may know somebody, or some of your friends may actually be able to work on a mobile home. So I would go to social media and put up a page on in one of the groups and ask about any handyman that available.
No, that's well said. That's well said. And I want to ask, with the home mobile home investing, is there a need to have a real estate agent, or this is
No,
more of
nope, no.
uh,
So you don't need a real estate agent. So the thing about mobile homes is actually you have a title, just like it's similar to a vehicle, So there's no like deed. There's a title which is housed at the DMV. So you don't do anything. You don't need a real estate agent. You don't need to be a real estate agent. You don't even have to have, you don't have to have any real estate agent involved. All you need is the title for the mobile home. So, and you go to the DMV, to transfer titles. But yeah, you don't need a real estate agent when you, unless, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. Unless it's a mobile home that's on land and it's not in a park. If it's on land and it's attached to the land, then that's considered a real estate property, and it's not considered a that's not, you won't have a title to that. There'll be actually a deed to that one. So that will require a real estate agent. But anything in a mobile home park, it will not.
wow, 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 wow. Take out the middleman. Wow, that's good. So I guess, as for you as an investor, what do you look, you look for before you go in, you buy, put an offer in for a deal? Or are some things you look at before putting a final price or offer?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things, and I think I started to allude to it. But I'll walk around a mobile home. I'll check to see if there's any weak spots in the floors, especially around in the bathroom where it tend to be leaks, between water flowing. So make sure there's no weak spots. Make sure that there's no issues with the roof. Make sure there's actually a title available for the mobile home. Um, Make sure the year, if the mobile home needs to be moved, have to make sure there's a certain year. So anything after 76, if it's younger than 76, you cannot move it. That's the regulations that has been set for. It's too old for it to be moved. So that's another thing that you have to look for. But I mean, and then just common issues in terms of like what needs to be repaired. Is there a HVAC system installed? Does that need to be repaired? So just typically things that may cause problems later on down the line, or may not be an easy fix.